member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Alaska Senator Dan Sullivan, joins me. Senator, it's very nice to talk to you. Your thoughts tonight about what's going on?
Well, Greta, good to be on the show. And look, I agree with what a lot of Congressman Waltz was talking about. But you just made a great point there, and the point is the approach has to be multifaceted. You said, can't we just choke it off in terms of the money? The answer actually is yes. So I certainly think we need to be taking serious kinetic strikes, military strikes. And I think it's too early to assess right now what's happening. But the Biden administration has already said we're going to take targeting of Iran off the table. They mentioned that publicly today. I think that's a disaster to signal that. Let me give you one example. I think one target that we should be certainly focused on is Iranian Navy ships. Right now, the Houthis are using Iranian weapons and Iranian intel from Iranian ships to attack U.S. Navy vessels. We should tell them, you do that anymore, we're going to sink your Iranian spy ships, period. But you made a really good point, and this is why this needs to be multifaceted. It's not just military strikes. To your earlier point, we need to look at many other instruments of American power to reestablish deterrence against Iran. And a huge one in terms of that kind of policy is reimposing serious oil and gas sanctions. Congressman Waltz mentioned the SHIP Act. I agree with these secondary sanctions. But here's the number that is really stunning. By the end of the Trump administration, who imposed with Republican Senate support massive comprehensive economic and oil and gas sanctions against Iran, the Iranians had about $4 billion in foreign reserves. That's actually not a lot. Biden comes in, reverses everything the Trump administration has done, especially lifting sanctions. The Iranians have close to $75 billion in foreign reserves. That is exactly what they're funding Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis with. So your point about choking it off is something we should do. I've directly raised this with the president and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary of Defense just in the last few days. And we need to do that.
You know, this is so complex. It's been going on for so long on so many levels. And, you know, I'm very much a proponent of a robust debate, whether it's done behind closed doors among, you know, the two houses, the House and the Senate and the president. But do you feel that there's a robust debate going on? Are you involved with any of the sort of recommendations to the White House or the Defense Department? You're on Armed Services. It's a very powerful committee. Or is this sort of the president and the Secretary of Defense making the decisions alone?
Well, look, one thing that's frustrating for me, you know, a lot of people think the military, the Pentagon, they want to only use military force on these kind of issues to reestablish deterrence, like with Iran. The Pentagon, as you know, Greta, is often the ones in the big principals meetings with the White House and the president to say, hey, let's use these other instruments of American power. Let's use sanctions to crush their oil and gas regime and prevent them from funding terrorists around the world. So I think the Pentagon, and like I said, I had very good discussions just in the last 2 days with the top military uniformed officer, Chairman C.Q. Brown, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and the Secretary of Defense. And yes, I have even, you know, told the president that they need to do this and they would get strong bipartisan support. By this, I mean reimposing sanctions. And for whatever reason, they seem scared to do it, and it makes no sense.